Many gamers love to make top 5 lists, top 10 lists, anything to get the conversation going about what are some of the best video games of all time. Now personally, my sentimental favorite is Shining Force for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. Never heard of it, you say? Yeah, let's take a look.
The battle between good and evil. It's a theme that has been behind some of the most treasured stories of all time. Now enter the world of Rune, where an ancient evil that has slumbered for 1,000 years is stirring, and the kingdom of Runefaust is making war all across the land, with only the hope of a legendary hero of light to sustain those that seek to resist. Shining Force's main character is a young swordsman who has been trained by the renowned warrior Barrios in the art of combat. But when their land is besieged, everything is turned upside down, and a special mission arises that sets our young hero out to investigate what evil is at foot and ultimately faces his destiny. Now, Shining Force is a strategy RPG with tactical battles that give you control over a small band of warriors consisting of swordsmen, mages, archers, centaurs, healers, and many more specialized fighters. Battles are turn-based and allow you to move your allies around the grid in a manner I would most compare to the game of chess, as each unit has its own strengths and weaknesses that can be exploited. Combat is done in these awesome cutscenes that animate the action of attack or magic on the enemy or ally unit. The graphical style is a nice mix of East meets West, in that characters are cartoonish and have hints of an anime pedigree, but are also tempered with a sense of realism that feels more Western to me. And the animation is exactly the sort of 16-bit stuff that brings back childhood memories for me every time I see it. How did I first discover Shining Force?
Back in grade school, my best friend's older brother was in a band, and they would practice all the time over in his basement. And kind of tucked away in the corner there was a Sega Genesis at the house. So him and I would get down there, we'd play some games, you know, Phantasy Star 4, Lunar, and of course Shining Force. That was the first time I played it. Now to get my own copy, I actually had to do extra chores and save up my allowance for like 3 or 4 months all summer long. But finally, at the end of the summer, I went down to a local game store, plunked down $60, but had my very own copy of Shining Force for the Sega Genesis, and to this day, I just loved it. Love it.
After the first battle, the story really takes off, as you must fight your way back to the castle, only to see tragedy strike the royal family, and your mentor defeated at the hands of the evil Cain of Runefaust. With the town destroyed and revenge in mind, your band of soldiers heads out to liberate the rest of the kingdom and discover what the enemy is truly after. What do I love about this game? Everything. The battles are well balanced and feel fresh each time. The gameplay is spot on and addictive. There are many towns to explore, treasures to uncover, and new characters to recruit to your cause. As the game progresses, you'll have to decide which 12 warriors to use in any given battle from among your army. You can level them all up independently, so their powers will vary wildly. Upon reaching level 10, you are able to promote the characters to an advanced form of their particular fighting style, such as an archer becoming a bowmaster, or a centaur becoming a paladin. And it's the diversity of the characters themselves and the solid gameplay that keeps me coming back to play this game again and again with different lineups. The ability to replay battles using the hero's egress magic spell sets this game apart from other strategy RPG games that I've played. It's also very player friendly in the fact that you can raise allies that have fallen after the battle so they aren't gone forever. Although it should be noted that if your hero is defeated during the battle, it is automatic game over, no matter how few enemies remain. So it doesn't pay to be too reckless with your tactics. Shining Force is not an overly long game, with 8 chapters of battles to take on. It is also widely available with releases on the Genesis and Mega Drive, as well as the Wii Virtual Console, PC, and a number of game collections from Sega for a whole host of systems. There was also a remake of it for the Game Boy Advance called Shining Force: The Resurrection of the Dark Dragon by Atlas. That has additional characters and a new artwork style for the game. Most recently, however, it was released on the iPhone, and at a mere 99 cents, I had to download it. It plays remarkably well and is a direct translation of the original Genesis and Mega Drive classic. Totally worth snagging if you are at all intrigued by what the game has to offer. If swords and sorcery, tactical combat, leveling up and promoting characters, fun gameplay, and 16-bit graphics is your thing, then I can't recommend Shining Force enough. It is my nostalgic choice for my favorite game of all time, and part of a much larger series of games that often flies under the radar when talking about the elite class of RPGs out there in the gaming world. What are a few other games in the Shining series that I have?
Now, being such a fan of the original Shining Force game, there's actually quite a few sequels, and I, of course, I had to add them to my collection. So, what other ones do I have? Well, I've got Shining Force 2 for the Genesis, Shining Force CD for the Sega CD, which actually includes all the Game Gear games from the Shining Force series, and there's a total of 4 quests on there. So this is an absolute must for any fans of the 16-bit Shining Force games. Additionally, my collection wouldn't be complete without Shining Force 3, the US version. Now in Japan, they were really lucky because this was actually the first of a trilogy of games set for the Sega Saturn, but only one of them was released here in the US. Well, Japan got all 3, but hey, maybe I'll learn Japanese someday and be able to finish that. My most recent addition to the collection is Shining Force Neo for the PlayStation 2, which actually totally threw the whole strategy RPG thing out the window, and it's more of an action RPG, but I figured why not add it to the collection and maybe I'll give it a try someday.
There is so much to talk about for this game and series. Of note, Shining Force is actually the second game in the Shining series, as the dungeon crawler Shining in the Darkness came before it on the Genesis and Mega Drive.
Well, there you have it, everybody. That's my look at Shining Force. I hope you've enjoyed the review. I had a lot of fun making it. Clearly it's my all-time favorite game, so it's definitely a must-try. If you're in the market for a strategy RPG. I want to say a huge thanks to Matze and David, the Final Highlander, for supporting my channel and for giving me a lot of encouragement to actually continue making these reviews. And just for everyone that's checked out my channel and left comments, I really appreciate it. So definitely thanks so much, and happy gaming, guys. All right, peace.